Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We are starting our panel session. In parallel, we have several sessions, and ours is stock market of Kazakhstan, what the participants of market are expecting for institutional and retail investors. We have the questions of infrastructure, financial inclusiveness and literacy, improvement of regulation, development lines. We have several participants today, including Mariya Jamalovna, representative of the Agency for Development and Regulation, Adil, Chairman of the Board of Central Securities Depository. We are happy to see also Farkhad Konashbavich, the main stakeholder of Resmi Group of companies. It is one of the few companies of middle size which is a regular participant of the capital market and invites investors. And we have invited a number of brokerage companies which have a breakthrough in the services for the retail investors and provides a wide range of services. This is Farkhad. Ohonov, he is the head of Halyk Finance, Alexander Dronin, deputy chairman of BCC Invest, and Nurdaulet Aidosov, chairman of the board of Jusan Invest. I'm happy to welcome you, colleagues. Today we have come together before the day of the currency, day of financiers, and this year we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of Kazakhstan. We can summarize the development of our financial sector, what is expecting us at this stage of the 30th anniversary. But first of all, I would like to give you a brief review. Today, we have mentioned that at the panel discussion, what were the achievements and what plans have been implemented by the regulator, what emphasis the National Bank and the regulating agency have. It is necessary to emphasize that during the last 2 years, notwithstanding the pandemic, coronavirus, significant steps were made in regulation of the exchange market, creating opportunities to provide services in online mode for the work of banks in the ecosystems. Banks are allowed to provide brokerage services since this year with a wider extent. Previously, there were limitations. Now we expect that the banks can approach the exchange market and acquire different financial instruments. Also, we can see that this year, finally, we have the opportunity to transfer a part of pension fund accumulations to the private management for companies. For pension funds management were created, the sizes were small, the rules were established, but the opportunities were created for investment of their own assets and savings, which were in the government fund, to the private management companies, and choosing the strategy depending on what is offered by the brokerage company. Today we have been talking that digitalization services opportunities have been created. The brokerage services and exchange markets were the last of the financial sectors who were involved with that. First of all, that was done for the banks and insurance companies, and we see the result of the norms and regulations adopted in the previous year, and we see that the regulator is adopting the number of corrective measures with respect to investment exchange funds, including mutual funds, to transfer them to the exchange trading, the questions of participation of the retail investor, questions of regulations and changing regulation of the brokerage companies. Also, at the same time, the market in the years 2021, it was not standard, with notwithstanding the drops in March of the previous years. All the exchange markets, they are growing. Kazakhstan is not an exclusion this year. KASE 40% growth is showing, and we see good profit in the companies who go to the index. And we see the growth in trading volumes in the exchange market. In its statistics, the exchange has reported on that several times. Last year, it was 118 trillion We have several sectors where we trade, but in 10 months of this year, it was amounted to 128 trillion tenge. So we exceed the volumes of the previous year. And in the bond market, the trading volume is 4.4 trillion tenge. In the stock market, 97.4 trillion tenge. In the mutual fund, 3.9 trillion tenge. And the secondary market of corporate obligations has grown in 10 months of this year compared to the previous year, 2 times, 16% in the stock market. In the mutual funds, 2.6 times. All these figures support certain activities, so we would like to discuss what is influencing the activities in the market and what can be expected. I would like also to emphasize that in 2019, 8 instruments were representing the market. In November of this year, we have 17 mutual funds, including ETF. We have a growth in capitalization. We can actually list a lot of numbers and figures, but let us proceed to the questions. What was the reason for such positive shifts in the exchange market? What can be expected? And in terms of discussing the increase of inclusiveness and development of the market, we would like to ask Mariya. According to Bloomberg Intelligence, there is a growth from 15 to 23% in 2021, and this 15%, that was the first time in the exchange market. In the American platform, we are a member of the International Federation of Exchange. The Moscow Exchange says that there are 15 million retail investors. 3 years ago, it was 3 million accounts. And even with the central depository, we can see that this is 206,000 accounts. But let us allow the central depository to give the exact numbers by themselves. But we see a trend in the last 2 years. So, Mariya, in your opinion, what were the tasks of the agency? A lot of changes were in the regulatory and legal base. How do you think it affected the exchange? We believe that in 2020-2021, it was a breakthrough in Kazakhstan stock exchange, especially for the retail investors, as you have emphasized, due to the implementation of the opportunity of remote closing of the brokerage agreements and transactions through biometric and dynamic identification. The number of retail investors has finally reached 200,000 people. A similar effect was only when we had the people's IPO, public IPOs. 73,000 new contracts were concluded in these years, and some of them are in the remote format. The leaders are Halyk Finance, Jusan Invest, Freedom Finance. This is a big number of contracts, agreements, but the trend is going to grow, as we believe, because the remote possibility to work with clients has been realized not by all the clients, not by all the companies. We are expecting a big number of agreements when the second-level banks will approach the exchange market. The option provided by the legislation will be useful for the banks, and after such a timeout, when the decisions were being made, they will approach finally the exchange market. And after the pandemic period, we see the changes in the risk profile of the clients. We have more younger clients in the market. We can see growing appetite of the risk-related investors, the investors who like to play in the market, in the exchange, and to check how it works. Everything of this will influence the growth of investors next year. The appetite is growing, as I said, with respect to the investors coming to the market, especially about the new and young investors, I can say so. They buy instruments of the investment funds. The number of holders of the shares has increased by 67%. 56% is growing the number of the assets. The leaders are collective forms of investment mutual funds, which attract more retail investors. What else I would like to emphasize here? We have done a huge work last year on the return of the pension assets to the exchange market, to the private sector, private environment, but unfortunately our management companies have to compete with the real estate market. Of course, at the moment the situation is that this competition is not in favor of the private management companies, but again we hope that at the end of this year, we will see that 4 management private companies dealing with management of the pension assets will show good yield, which will attract significant number of retail investors with their pension assets. And in parallel, we are discussing the possibilities for future stimulus for the attraction of our investors to the private pension fund services market. What else I would like to emphasize here? For the development of the exchange market to attract more investors, we are trying to provide the maximum scope of instruments which they would be able to buy at the exchange market. In 2 years, we have created new financial instruments like bonds for private investments, obligation investments, bond investments, which allow to use flexible conditions for remuneration. We have pension and social obligations, sustainable development obligations and bonds within the framework of the financial instruments on sustainable development. We have attracted in the years 2021, 2020. They do not look in this direction or are not active enough in the exchange market. So here we try due to diversification of risks and subsidizing the coupon remuneration rates and other stimulating measures taken by the state, including the state guarantees, to create the required environment. We continue this work. We will reconsider the criteria for subsidizing of the coupon remuneration rate as we planned in this year. We will come back to this question. Today we are considering the issue of provision of additional securities and guarantees from the development institutions. In the law, it will be prescribed as a security on bonds, and our investors, even institutional investors, will be able to purchase such bonds. This all should result into the situation that the market of primary attraction, we will see not only quasi-state companies, but also private sector companies. Also, I would like to emphasize the innovations which we can see in the infrastructure. We have significant achievements by the Kazakhstan Stock Exchange in the years 2020-2021. Almost completely, Kazakhstan Stock Exchange has modernized its clearing system. The special role is played by the central counterparty, who has reduced the risks of our investors. And we see further potential in development of the central depository. I think that Adil will give more details about modernization of the central depository. What else I would like to share with you is the launch of the first in Kazakhstan regulatory sandbox in the financial market. The brokers have provided proposals many times to allow servicing the clients' assets in the affiliated banks. Unfortunately, as of today, the custodial activity is less involved in the digitalization process. That is why here we have additional issues and questions to the banks providing custodial services. In September 2021, the management of the Agency of Financial Regulation and Supervision, the regulating regime was introduced for the brokerage and custodial activity in order to reduce the tariffs for the custodial activities and increase the quality of custodial services. We offer as a regulatory sandbox to provide brokerage and custody to participate in this project. Here the services of custodial activities will be provided by the custodian banks as well, operated by the brokers. We hope that this will mostly lead to increase of opportunities for our brokers and increase of the opportunities within the framework of the servicing mobile applications to work with qualified and non-qualified investors. And also I would like to share with you that in this year, 3 new brokers have been launched in the market, have approached the market, and we think this is a good trend. And this trend, in turn, it proves the potential of the market. It evidences the potential of market and positive prognosis of further development, because if we have the demand, we will have the proposals. Thank you.
In fact, you have already explained the different directions of your work, and in the Kazakhstani stock exchange, we are performing reality check regularly. And Farkhad Rashidovich, we discussed with you in the beginning of the year, because all the individual accounts are loaded into the capital stock market database, and this year we were surprised with the pace of growth and the level of new clients in Halyk finance. Currently 40,000, now it's 50,000 accounts. Daily there is a regular growth, and also we have a representative Mr. Adil from Central Depository. I will ask you about the way you manage that. And out of the broker organizations, 3 of them are new ones, and they enter all the sectors, and 10 of them have already launched the mobile applications. If we take into consideration the banking holdings, 10 years ago, banks never spoke about those broker services, and 3 years ago the banks provided trainings for their managers to sell indirectly those services, but now we see that available in the mobile application of the banks. So bank is providing the broker services via the applications. Could you please share which way you managed to reach such impressive results? What are the challenges? As Mariya Jamalovna mentioned, that there is a regulatory sandbox. This is one of the topics that is very important to everybody, and the interaction with all the interaction agents, it's not lean, it's not a smooth process yet. Let me welcome all the participants of this Congress, and let me congratulate you with the forthcoming days of the Financiers, and thank you very much for inviting me to share my opinion, and let us exchange our points of view. And regarding your question, dear Alina Utimisovna, yes, we had challenges, we have challenges, and we are going to have them in the future. Regarding the brokers' business participating in this market, regarding digitalization, we just started to enter this process. So banks in the numbers, they are doing that for several years already. But in contrary, the brokers' business just has started their way in that direction. And for us, one of the main challenges, like for any other brokers, working on expansion of their clients' database, it's about landscaping of the system. This is a very serious thing to do. You can see yourself. You mentioned that our clients' database grown 5 times. So out of that, the average monthly trade turnover increased 10 times almost. And during 10 months, taking into consideration the operations from the individuals in the local markets increased more than 10 times. And the activity of the trading clients increased almost 40 times. And 1 year ago, we had 75 persons active. Means they performed at least 1 deal per month. And in total, per year, we had around 5,000 deals. And now we have 3,800 persons as active traders, and the total number is more than 100,000 clients active. So now we are much more active compared to the previous year. And for any broker and for any system, we should be ready to expand the system to accept such a growth of clients in order to process automatically the submits from the clients and to perform non-trade operations to make it smoothly, seamless. And it's not only about brokers' activity. Now regulator opened their doors for onboarding using biometric indices. But this is just the entrance. And then the client is moving to different branches in his way, and then you need to send his money to the broker's account. Which way? Which interface to use? Should it be mobile app? How fast can it be done? With conversion or without conversion? How quick he may buy a security, a bond? How quick he may return his money if he decided to close the trade position? So it's about the broker system and about the stakeholders of the capital stock market. This is a very relevant topic now also for the stock exchange and for the central depository. Sometimes we had situations when the participants of our infrastructure were not simply ready to such growth of the clients. In some days, the number of clients opening a broker's account from Halyk Finance was more than 600 persons, and at the same time there were other brokers. So in total, per day, there were more than 1,000 applications like that. So that was sometimes a lot. But did you manage to digest that? So you managed to digest those 1,000 clients per day? Yes, we reacted quickly. I just wanted to give an example that opening the doors using biometric characteristics is resulting in that you should be ready to accept the clients in other directions of infrastructure. And automation of the work in different directions, not only in central depository and brokers. I'm speaking about the custodians. And there is a problem in development of automation at the level of custodians. I would highlight it as a main problem. Brokers are more or less motivated to develop and to expand their systems. And central depository and stock exchange are forced to do that because they are consolidating the market on themselves and they are obliged to be in line with the tendency. But custodian banks are different, first of all, because they are private bank, and secondly, the custodian business is not the priority business for the second-tier banks. So their priorities are retail, loan provision, cards, and they are doing that during many years already this way. So you can see the segments of the commercial banks. Even small-scale business can get a loan within 30 minutes. This is the progress. And the segment of the retail business is getting modified and getting more convenient. So banks are sending their efforts towards those directions because it's business. And the custodians are not the priority. And the participants, depending on the custodians, brokers, and their clients, depends on that. In this direction, there is a big room for improvement, particularly to develop custodian business. And Halyk and Jusan invest. Besides them, there is a new broker who made a noise. And let me ask Nurdaulet now. We have heard when you started to work on the stock exchange, you said that any citizen of Kazakhstan should be able to invest in the stock exchange of Kazakhstan, and the minimum amount 100 Tenge, and now you have more than 25,000 clients. And also we observed that the profiles of investors, and Mr. Nurlan will share his point of view as well. But we see in the international experience that the youngest investor can be 7 years old. He is using the smartphone mobile application and trading using that. So how come so unexpectedly we have such participants? Here is the chairman of your bank in our studio. How come it became possible? Thank you very much. Let me congratulate you with the forthcoming holidays and the day of our Kazakhstani currency and the 30th anniversary of independence of our state. And almost 1 year we are working and answering your question. We were focused on two elements that we believe the most important ones. As my colleague mentioned, it's about digitalization. 1 year ago, when we just started, the average speed to open broker's account was 3 days, 3 working days, not just 3 calendar days. And if it was started on Friday, then it took 5 days, calendar days, to open broker's account. And our client compared his way with the banking way. In banks, everything is done quickly. And 1 year ago, it was very quickly. Same thing, but it year ago. So we took into consideration the needs and expectations of our clients, and then we decided to digitalize the full process and exclude the human factor. To open an account with us, it takes 5 minutes only, thanks to our collaboration and flexibility of Central Depository on Securities. This way, we make the high speed to open an account. Regarding trading, before you had to go physically to sign something. Now it takes seconds, and our customer can start trading at Kazakhstani Stock Exchange in the lunchtime, London Stock Exchange, and then switch Stock Exchange by evening time without any calls, using just mobile app, and the deals can be performed in milliseconds on the stock exchanges. So mobilization, digitalization of the platform, this is the way we work with our clients. But the focus is communication that we build with our clients. During 30 years of independence of Kazakhstan, the investments analytics were very difficult to understand. We used lots of terminology and definitions, not like now. In Jusan, we choose different way of communication with client. Even when you mentioned the statistics of the new clients, they are completely new type of people entering our market. If we compare that vis-a-vis with the banking market, Someone prefers to go physically to the manager. Someone prefers to use the cards. In broker's business, it's different. It's important to show off all the advantages of the capital stock market and to train them in a simple language and explain them easily and show them in the accessible way what can be done there. That's why we are the most active in the social networks. And regarding the social mass media, regarding the anniversary of Tenge, we launched the Investors Network. Within the frames of this network, the retail investors can discuss different topics, share their experience, get new experience as well. So this is not a unique option. There are 30 networks like that in the world, but only some of them are connected to the trade platform. What does that mean? In case of any news, in case of a discussion of some type of securities, you just push the link and you can get information about the shares of Kazatomprom, for instance. And then this discussion is saved, so you can follow. So you can both discuss and invest and get the opinion. Speaking about the language in communication, we are probably the one who are providing content in the governmental state Kazakh language. We are providing daily training, daily analytics. We upload that and publish that fully in Kazakh. We have Kazakh-speaking audience, and before they could not reach all that information. We provide information about methods of Tesla, about Kazatomprom. Mainly, such news are published in Russian only. In this regards, we translated everything into Kazakh state language, and we launched an academy providing trainings for the basic knowledge and for the financial literacy. Within the frames of the training for financial literacy, there is a network of Nazarbayev intellectual schools. In the 12th form, we provide elective literacy, and we provide it as a subject. And within the frames of ESG strategy, we provide this elective subject for the 12th form in the schools of Nazarbayev intellectual schools in order to provide the financial literacy to the new generation, explaining what does it mean, deposits, credits, loans, investment products, family budget, cryptocurrency, pyramids, and other notions. We provide the definitions to make the new generation financially literate. And our history is based on the digitalization and communication and how to do that correctly. As a result, we see that we have statistics about that, and my colleagues, they have good growth. We started from scratch. And in 1 year, we have such big growth. We are not going to speak about that right now. The most important is to obtain the trust from our clients, especially in the financial markets. And let me formulate it such way. All that is done to the Jusan Invest top management. And we are focused on the client. We are client-centered. And if not, we are punished by the top management. And if client is transferring to us the majority of their pension funds, this way we perceive it as an appraisal of our efforts. So we perceive the client as our top manager. We listen to him. We focus on him. So to understand who is the current client from different areas from all over the country. We try to draft an average portrait of our client. This is a new person to the capital stock market, and they are happy people. We work with happy people. These are people who are having their money and they would like to multiply their money. There are myths that stock exchange and capital stock market are for rich people, but it's not true. There are brokers who can help you to multiply your funds. And comparing the age and location, geographical location, I would say that clients, most of all, they don't know which way to do their work. And this is our job to do, to grow their income.
Here I would like to talk to you. Alexandra BCC Invest has been working in the market for quite a long time. They must be celebrating more than 20 years of working in the exchange market. We know BCC Invest had a company on pension fund management, and they are approaching the market again, and they are active in the market on bonds and stock placement for the companies. Some time ago, you were working with the public IPO. I would like to ask you about transformation, digitalization, which touched your company as well. We would like to understand how it happens in your organization, and your group is one of the few who has stated that they will participate in the process as a bank. How do you work with the retail investor? How do you develop your platform of digital services? And the main topic I would like to discuss, what the retail investors will buy. Yes, everything what could be placed in the market, everything is traded now, are the stocks, shares, which were placed within the public IPO together with the regulator. We are starting green financing bonds. We will tell about this in the next session. We create opportunities for placement in foreign currencies, in settlements in foreign currencies, and trading in foreign currencies. At the same time, we see that the retail clients will come, and the growth observed in the other markets, and which is now observed in the whole world, may happen in Kazakhstan as well. So it's not a secret that in Kazakhstan there are a lot of individuals who sell securities directly and through the brokerage businesses. This is the majority of the business, actually, and we start the platform to trade the foreign shares starting from the 15th of November, and we hope that the share of this market will be also going through the organized exchange market. How do you see these processes, Alexander? Good afternoon, good day, everyone. Congratulations to the forthcoming holidays. Thank you for these good questions. Yes, we do. Periodically, we were involved in the retail business when we had the public IPO programs, and we were involved in that. There were the growth periods. We understood that the retail, from the infrastructural, legal, regulatory point of view, they are not ready. We knew that at that time, 1,000 accounts opening in one day, it was impossible. The retail made up more expenses than profits. Economically, we did not see, I'm talking about the past, we did not see any need to go into this segment because the income of the population was low enough, and the expenses to serve these clients 5 years ago, they were huge, and they made this market inaccessible for the private investors. And therefore, we as a financial organization, we were more concentrated on servicing the institutional clients and self-services for VIP clients with a big check. The mean check last year was about $200,000. That was a mean transaction in our company, average transaction in our company. So we understand that this is not an periodical growth of the clients, but this is a stable trend. And from the point of view of infrastructure, technological and legal point of view, This is a good trend. I'm happy that there is a growing competition in this market. I think this is the engine for the progress. Everyone is doing very well their jobs. And regulator, one of the reasons why the regulator was so active is because there was a competition occurring, and pandemic has corrected the situation to some extent. We have done a lot of good job, and I am happy that colleagues from Jusan are doing very good work in terms of education for the population. But investment, this is a very important and complicated question, and especially in terms of the products and approaches we will use to the retail investors. But we have decided that we will divide the business of working with retail investors as an institution. The bank is ready to provide services to these clients because we not talk about the figures only. The bank can provide services 24/7 with the cybersecurity, but also there are accompanying services like call center when you have to work 24/7 with a huge number of clients. The services provided by us before as brokers, we are not ready to provide services to such a scope, on such a scale. That is why the omnibus accounts have occurred, and they allow to unload the operating systems and make the calculations in several seconds. With the central depository, we made the tests. It takes 5 seconds to open an account on omnibus principle, and based on the bank, we will implement this technology to ensure the simplest and more comfortable life for the clients. The bank will be involved in the brokerage business. It will concentrate on what it is doing well, the asset management. During the last years, we have been developing this direction. I think this product is the most appropriate for the private investors. These are the funds. We have created one of the largest funds, more than $100 million have been invested into the private funds. This is the first step towards the client, and as the first step from the client, they should start from the products like this. That is why, first of all, we would like to provide collective investment instruments, but we cannot ignore the demands of the clients. The clients are becoming younger and younger. They are looking for higher rates. They come to solve their financial problems, although this is not the main purpose of the exchange market. If you have financial problems, the financial literacy or education is important for you. So we will have to think about the future financial education, and we can do much more. I see Jusan Invest is very active in this sphere. They are doing a great job. And if we centralize, we will move forward faster. Nevertheless, coming back to the instruments, we would like to have the funds mostly to arrange the proper management of these funds and provide products to the banks, to the bank applications, the products which will be more applicable for the mass segment. The integration between BCC Invest and the bank. More than 1 year ago, we had this opportunity in the bank application to make elementary trading operations. We did not announce that really and did not make any advertisement for that function because we understood that if we have a lot of clients from the bank at the moment, BCC Invest will not handle this scope of work and the quality of service, and the first client's experience will be negative. That is why we made it as a service, but due to the fact that we were not ready and some other reasons, we did not activate that function. Nevertheless, the clients who cannot cover their needs in the bank jurisdiction, in the brokerage, they will have a chance through using this application to get authorized in BCC and get the whole spectrum of services, including alternative investments, different types of Euro bonds, which are for more demanding clients. And these clients are not planned. Some services are not planned for the mass market. About 50% of the mass segment demands will be satisfied by the bank. The client will not see if it is working with a bank or BCC Invest, depending on the type of product, and we will provide limitations about the non-qualified investors not to admit them to some products at the level of digitalization of these processes. Thus, we are implementing the plans. Of course, these plans require implementing large-scale IT solutions. So we have rejected in-house developments. We have started using the industrial solutions. We have very good Russian solutions for these purposes, which will allow us to the maximum extent smoothly and comfortably and conveniently for the client to do so, and at a lower rates to make these transactions, I mean. And as for the foreign securities market, which was announced by the exchange to starting from the 15th of November in a few days, the problem is that we are growing class of investors, but where they will invest, this is the question. In terms of liquid instruments and assets, there are not really many of them, and this is like a closed loop because there are no elements and there are no issuers, no investors, no issues, and so on. So that was a correct decision, so that we will involve or attract foreign issuers, foreign securities into the Kazakhstan Stock Exchange, which will allow making the operations almost for free, and tax benefits are there as well. This sector can or must be successful if we do our work properly, and I do believe that we will do it properly. We have a little of time left. I would like to ask you, Kairat Konoshbaevich, yes, brokers with buses, digitalization, retail, they are expecting what will be next year. We'll have 2-3 million or more. We will ask brokers. At the moment, we have 200,000 plus 70% indeed. Still, everything is done to diversify the investors' base and diversify the economy. On the exchange, we repeat that our mission to arrange the platform to meet the needs of economy, which includes different segments, including the government, represented by the Ministry of Finance, selling the notes of the national bank, corporate sector, banking sector, microfinancial organization, which appeared recently, as they have been mentioned today, and private businesses. Currently, your company, RG Brands, investment group, RSME, they are working this direction actively, and you are one of the few companies who are not afraid of the transparency approach to the market, and at the current rates finance the businesses. At this time, we are developing different programs, how we can stimulate the small and medium-sized businesses to approach the market. Now we see that investors appear. How we can link these two demands to create a real exchange market which will meet the market demands. Thank you very much, Alina, for your question. Good day, everyone. I would like to congratulate everyone with the forthcoming Financiers Day and the anniversary date, the 30th anniversary. And we need not only report what has been achieved in these 10 years or 30 years, but also we need to generate the plans for the future, the agenda for the future. Today, we position ourselves as a sort of client consumer of financial solutions prepared by the financial sector. Thanks God, we have started talking about not banking sector, but financial sector. And today, we all here are representatives of the bank-related but financial companies. I hope next time we will see independent financial companies who have no problem about the conflict of interest, and the client is the bank management, which we do not like, because we are considering the exchange market as something creating a sort of alternative to the banking financing. And in our case, in Kazakhstan, sort of quasi-state banking financing is dominating. I would like to emphasize here that today, many of my colleagues, they don't consider me as a representative of the real economy sector. They consider more as a financier, and financiers do not think that I am a financier even more, or they think I am like a manufacturer. They all think that I'm a doctor or public person. Everything is correct, but I have more a centered position. I would like to share it with you today, because I think that with all participants of today's session, I was acting in different roles as entrepreneur, issuer, regulator, or a person regulated by the regulators on whom some limitations were imposed. But the history is important, and the history is the one we can be proud of. I would like to emphasize once again, as a user of the exchange market, that it is absolutely a brilliant instrument, a perfect ecosystem to make Kazakhstan business more mature, more correct. Why? Because there are certain requirements and culture of the corporate management. There are some expectations of how the strategy is formed and how the companies are performing in terms of financial and operating requirements. There are reports every quarter, every year. Also, you need to show if you can attract the clients at what rate and so on. And this all influences. It has a huge influence on the human capital in Kazakhstan, companies who participate in the exchange market, who return the money. And we can see the companies whose teams are working in the market and the companies who do not work. These are two completely different things. I would like to say thank you to the providers who provide services to the financial sectors and regulators for this ecosystem. And now these are holidays, but after the holidays we need to wish something, to plan something for the future. So there are some. If we talk about the finances, the strategies, we do have them, and we discuss servicing of the forced growth. We know that there is U-shape, W-shape, but today I have a feeling that we are talking about a V-shape, like a rocket growth, and many times we had troubles. And after that, we have a feeling that the increased capacities, this diversity of the growth products, tomorrow it is not that needed as we thought before. It is important to think about the fundamental reasons. I would like to inform that maybe, yes, we have a growth of 70%. This is great. What does it mean for me? That there is diversification in the investment base, in the investors' base. It will be cheaper. The stable dollar with the growing rate of refinancing by the National Bank provides some opportunities in Tenge for the local investors and bonds and other equities. But there is something huge nearby. I would like to hear more of what is happening with the cryptocurrency. Why the money of Kazakhstani investors, especially of the young investors you have mentioned today, they're working somewhere. I would like to know the position of the regulator about this. I would like to say that we do not really like that Kazakhstan, from the supplier of energy resources, power resources, has a position in the digital global market as the second miner, because we would like to provide services for some digital assets for these participants of the market. I would like to know if we will have ICO opportunities, if you have a platform for that. Why? Because for the same clients mentioned by our colleagues, financiers, they have huge cashback programs. This is not a modern product, and cryptocurrency, quite frequently, these are few loyalty systems, digital blocks, and the financial sector companies which are consumer-centric, they have huge budget. Up to 15% of their sales volumes is covered by marketing. This is very important. Due to this, you know, our group, it was building these strategies of working in the market not only to have an alternative to the banking financing, not only to have diversification of access to the equity market, not only to make it cheaper, but to develop some financial engineering. And we succeeded. Why we succeeded? Because we remember the history of mutual funds very well. It is a great history. Together with Mariya and Alina, we worked a lot on the real estate funds, if you remember. And you know why I'm talking about it today? A lot of NPL and collaterals, pledges, they prevent from doing our business. I would like to ask, is it possible to bring it to the exchange markets, these huge massives of the office and residential premises? There are a lot of participants there. Good news about management of the pension funds assets. We see in this post-COVID situation, it gave a new step of development in our markets, and we, issuers with a large capitalization or mid-caps, we all are very active with the small-scale businesses. We are looking forward with the big optimism, and we have one main risk, that all these new trends about digitalization, about coins and access to the global equity market and trade financing, that it does not have the same format as the previous 30 years, so that our financial landscape is updated, reloaded. And this is very important for us. And this will create a good platform for development of the real sector. Yes, we have Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan nearby, and we see how active they are. And we can see the development of the Russian market in the Eurasian Union. We can see the level of competition. We can see it as a big partner of ours and our big competitor. And we will see that the bigger our exchange market is, the more is influence of the Russian market. Thank you. Thank you, Karel Konashbaevich. You have raised a lot of questions about cryptocurrency. We can make a separate session about crypto mining as well. But now, we, as a official financial sector, in the presence of Mariya, we are not dealing with the cryptocurrency in the Kazakhstan exchange market, but in the strategy of the exchange, we are considering the possibility to start up the digital financial instruments, not talking about the cryptocurrencies, maybe partial transition to the digital Tenge using this infrastructure. It is possible to create the digital instruments. And it is important that for the creation of this parallel infrastructure, which will act compared to the other principle we have now, it is important to have readiness of the central depository. Today we have heard several comments from the brokers that the activity with the individuals and storage of the funds, all of these questions, they will come to the central depository, because the central depository is the one who is storing assets and securities of our individuals, and the readiness for the exponential growth will develop on the central depository. Adil Nurlanich would like to hear from you. What challenges have you come across, and what are you planning to do in the nearest future?
Thank you very much for your question. Let me congratulate all the colleagues with the forthcoming holidays. And speaking about the challenges for the central depository, first of all, it's about the growth in opening of the new accounts. So this is what my colleagues mentioned, because we had to open more than 1,000 accounts per day. And due to that, we have to process all that operations. And to give the statistics regarding the accounts opening, we provided several slides in order to show you the dynamics in accounts opening. In average, during the latest 11 months, it has been mentioned already, and the number of the sub-accounts open were 4 times more than in 2 previous years. So it has grown 70% almost. And if we speak about the number of the individuals for whom we had almost 190,000 individuals. It is 1.5 times more than in 2020 and almost 1.8 times more than in 2016. We performed a comparative analysis showing that the majority of individuals are located in the group of age from 30 up to 50 years. They are making up 40% of all the investors. Second group from 25 up to 34 years old. And next group is 55 years and elder. The young investors from 18 till 24 years old, they are making up 10% out of total number of investors. And we have even accounts opened for the adolescents under 18 years old. This is an interesting fact, and colleagues mentioned about that. There is a segment in the age from 18 till 24 during the latest 2 years increased 8 times. And the group of age from 20 to 25 years increased 2 times. This explains the profile of investors getting younger. If we speak about the gender correlation, men investors are more than women investors. 59% of men, 41% of women investors, and it confirms the global trend, confirming that women are actively involved into the investment process. Speaking about the regional distribution and correlation, we have an interesting picture. The majority of investors are in the 2 main cities: Almaty 25%, Nur-Sultan 10%. Third place is taken by Karaganda. Investors 8.1%. Shymkent is having 1.7% out of total number of investors. And the minority of investors are in Kızılorda and northern Kazakhstani area. 1.6%. When we show these statistics and growth dynamics that we see on our market, the Central Depository also had a great load. Speaking about the way we changed that all, first of all, we performed modernization of IT solutions. We had to change the business processes, interacting with brokers, organizations. And in general, this exercise was successfully performed. And nevertheless, our professional stakeholders on the market are competing not between of them, but with global players. And for us, being an infrastructure organization, we are to provide the competitive advantage and at least to supply them and to support them with our infrastructure in order to make them able to provide timely and competitive and relative product in the retail investment market. These are the targets in our strategy that we accepted October this year in the Central Depository. This is a big strategy till 2024, including 24th year, includes 4 operational activities, and the main target is to maintain infrastructural competition and to provide the reliability of operations in the capital stock market. And the main idea is to support the intermediary services. There are different directions within the frames of depository and registration activity. And also it's about adaptation of omnibus accounts and a launch of the security lending and provision of opportunity to develop relations with the central depository remotely using biometric identification for clients. And also we plan to launch several banking services, such as the opening and management of the direct accounts for individuals and legal entities, opportunity to perform conversion of foreign currencies in order to perform the deals on the capital stock exchange, and also opportunity to provide centralized access to the operations with the non-stock exchange instruments. Alina Utimisovna is aware about that because we are working jointly on that. We should provide liquidity outside the stock exchange in order to transform it later to stock exchange. And also we were going to launch the hub for corporate activities. This is an important direction that would enable to provide the centralized access to process the activity on central securities, not only to the domestic issuers, but also to those that are located in the international organizations. That would improve the interest from the international investors to invest into our market. As far as we may see, we have lots of ambitious tasks and goals. Let me invite you to our website to read the strategy adopted, and all the tasks are requiring the revision for the digital landscape of the central depository. That's why we focus on this strategy of digitalization in order to answer the questions of business development. Also, we foresee in our strategy the ability to react flexibly according to the needs of our colleagues from the capital stock market and to react to the global trends as well. Speaking about the global trends, we are discussing actively the DLT technologies application in our work. This is about the distributed registers, and Central Depository is working on that, investigating the possibility to introduce this technology in our operations. With the support of Central Bank, we suppose to launch pilot projects next year basing in Central Depository, and we would be happy to share the reports on the pilot testing, and we are going to discuss it publicly. Thank you. Do we still have time? Mariya Jamalovna, still we would like to summarize. There are so many different directions. There is a suggestion to activate the work on the new instruments such as the real estate funds and the digital instruments. And let me precise. Kairat Kanishbayevich mentioned correctly that there is a sharp growth that may result to a non-soft landing. Is there any plans to regulate the individual operations in the capital stock market? There was one of the panel discussion saying that there is a discussion of the high interest bonds that can be purchased by individuals. In order to finalize our discussion with your comment, if possible, the growth of number of investors is resulting in some problems as well, pity to say. Sometimes investors are buying such financial tools and instruments that are not familiar with, and they do not assess the risks of different financial instruments. At the level of regulatory database, we are going to introduce the reforms in order to have the understanding of qualified and non-qualified investor. We are introducing the behavioristic supervision. We are going to introduce that via brokers themselves. Means the brokers are going to determine the risk appetite and the qualification of their client. It does not mean that clients are going to be prohibited to purchase the instruments that they would like to buy. And at the same time, the brokers, being the intermediary between the capital stock market and the client, the brokers would be obliged to explain and to provide understanding in the client of the risks of these financial instruments. Depending on the types of financial instruments and their qualifications, the clients with the broker will be split into different groups that would be working with derivative instruments and simple securities. And our target is to perform the financial awareness and financial literacy in order to minimize the risks that can lay behind their non-informed decisions. But we are not going to push them much in the regulatory way, not to decrease the appetite of the clients. The brokers, they have to compete with international financial organizations and international intermediaries. And very frequent, the financial services rendered by some financial international organizations are about fraud and financial pyramids in our market. And the agencies within the frame of the work performed with the fraud financial intermediaries, the agencies are publishing the lists of organizations having no license and those to whose name there were claims already, but still there is a challenge in this sphere due to the fact that so far investors are investing from home and they are attracted by the financial intermediaries by calling them, by providing financial services via internet. So our task, while expanding the financial investment opportunities, we should change this trend, and we are to give the opportunity to our clients to contact the Kazakhstani companies with the licenses who would provide the high-quality services at a proper level. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Let us finalize the discussion. Let me congratulate you with the forthcoming Day of the Financiers and the 30th anniversary of independence of the Republic of